Today, we will learn about SQL Logical Processing Order. This is probably the most important concept when learning how to create SQL query because it will help us create better query in terms of performance. It also will help us troubleshoot and debug the code much easier. Unlike other programming languages, SQL doesn't process the code from top to bottom. It follows the logical step when it processes the code. One important note, the database engine execution plan can be different from the query processing order because the database engine can create a different execution plan so it can optimize the table index or the view index. This way, it will optimize the query performance. Even though the execution plan is different from the query logical processing order, the logical order still dictate how data scopes are established and which alias are available on which clause and how filters are applied. For example, in the select list, we sum the cell order subtotal and we give an alias called total cell. We cannot use that total cell alias in the where clause because the where clause is processed before the select clause. So in the where clause, it doesn't understand what a total cell is. Let's jump to VS Code and look at some query. Today, I'm going to use SQL Server 2025 and Adventure Work 2025 sample database. And we're going to look at the cell order header. This query, it will fetch 3 columns, the order ID, the order date, and the subtotal. So from this query, it's very simple. Obviously, that the from is processed first before the select. So let's say if we delete the from clause here, the select wouldn't know where the data come from. It doesn't make sense if the select is processed before the from. The logical processing order for this query is going to be from cell order header, select the column. Let's run this query. Let's go to the next query. The next query, we add in the left join to the cell territory based on the territory ID. The processing order of this query will be from, join, and the join condition, then select. So very straightforward. The data is joined from the sort table to the order table based on the join condition. Then after that, we specify the select list of the column to return. Next query, we add in the where clause where we only want the order will play in 2025. Thus, the processing order will be from, join condition, then the data will get filtered using the where clause condition. After that, it will evaluate the select list. So the order is going to be from, join condition, where, and select. So this example here, we give the territory name an alias called territory name in the select list, but we try to use that alias in the where clause. They're gonna give an error because the select list evaluate a process after the where. So the where clause doesn't know, okay, what is territory name. So it throw an error there. Next query, we add in a group by. So here we group based on the territory ID and the territory name, and we sum the subtotal and we give it an alias at total cell. So the processing order of this query is going to be from cell order header, join to territory table on the territory ID, filter the order must be played in 2025. Then we group the data into group. After that, we return the territory name and the sum of the subtotal. So this is the processing order. So we have 10 territory and these are the total cell where the order will place in 2025. Let's look at the next query where we introduce the having clause where we filter the accurate data. We only want the territory in 2025 that have more than 1 million or more in total cell. So this is the filter of the group aggregate data. So the order would be from join condition where group by heaven and select. Now it only returned 7 territory. So the query before, when we didn't have this filter, it had 10. If we go back here, run the previous query, it had 10 territory. Now if we add in a filter, total sale in 2025 is $1 million or more, now we only have 7. Let's jump to another example. This query here, instead filter the accurate data using the heaven clause keyword, we attempt to filter accurate data in the where clause. In this case, it will not work because the where clause is processed before the group by and heaven, and the where clause operate at the row level, where the group by and heaven operate at the group or summary level. In the where clause, it filters individual row before any grouping or calculation of value takes place. Thus, using the aggregate function inside of the where clause will not work. It will throw an error. Let's run this query. The only time that using an aggregate function in a where clause makes sense if you use it in a subquery, something like this. For example, I would like to return all order where the subtotal is greater than or equal to the average of the subtotal in all of the order. So the query will be like this. We say that, okay, give me all sale order where the subtotal is greater than or equal to the average of the subtotal of all of the order. So in this case, it's okay to use the aggregate function in a where clause or by include it in a subquery. So you can see right here, these are the subtotal that greater than or equal to the average of the subtotal. Let's see what is the average of the subtotal. So the subtotal average for all of the order is $3,491. And these are the order where the subtotal is greater than or equal to that average. This case, then using the aggregate function within a subquery, then it's okay. But in this case, it will not work. Okay. Let's jump to the next query. The next query, we introduce the order by clause. We want to order the total sale descending order. The territory with the most sale will list on the top, and the one that will least sale will be on the bottom here. The processing order would be from join condition where group by heaven, then select, then last for the query will be order by. Remember, the order by is processed after the select. Since the order by is processed after the select, you can see right here, we can yield the total sale alias in the order by. So we don't have to do this, right? We can do the same thing by, we can say order by sum sale order header subtotal and descending order. So this query will be the same, but we don't have to do that because we already define the sum of the subtotal in the select list. And since the order by is processed after the select, we can delete the aggregate function here, and we should use the alias were defined in the select list with the total sale. And this query it produces the same result. Next query, we will add in the top and limit operator. If you use SQL Server, you use the top keyword. If you use MySQL or Postgres, you use the limit. This query will return the top 5 territory with the most sale in 2025. So Only Southwest, Northwest, Australia, Canada, and United Kingdom will get returned in this query. And France and Germany will get removed. So the order by process after the select, and the top and the limit is processed after the order by. In this example, we will look into how SQL logically process the expression and window function within the select clause or select list. In this example, I have one column called cell territory name, and I give an alias called territory name. Then next, sum the subtotal and give it an alias at total cell. Then the next column, I attempt to use that total cell amount, time that to 1.1 with 110%, and set that at this year cell target. And the last, I include a window function and order the subtotal in descending order. Basically, it will give the first territory have the most cell could be global cell rank 1, and the next one will be second, third, and fourth, and fifth. But if I run this query, I will have an error. So let's run it real quick. The error is invalid column name total cell, because in SQL, logically, all the basic column expression and map, they all logically process all at once. That means if I define something on the first column, I cannot use that alias in the next column or expression. It doesn't work that way. But when we introduce the window function into the selected list, the logical processing order will be SQL will process the basic column expression and map like the two first. Then it will process the window function. After all of that, it will apply the column, the alias, and it will repair the final output list. That in this case, we cannot use total cell alias in this column. To do that, we have to use the same aggregate function on the subtotal and time that to 110%. Then in this case, it will work. So we run the query again. So we can see right now, so the column here is this year cell target, which is 2026. And the total cell, this column here is the cell amount of the 2025. So it's 10% more of that. And this column will list the rank based on the cell amount. So the first one will be Southwest, have the most cell, and second one will be Northwest, and so on. Therefore, the processing order will be, first will be from, then will be join and join condition, then filter the row, the individual row using the where clause, then group the data into group using a group by, then the heaven clause will filter the group accurate data. And within a select list, so it could be A, it will be evaluate. One important note, the window function only can be used in the select list and the order by. You cannot use it in group by or where clause, because logically the where clause gets processed first before the select list, where the window function are calculated. That when you attempt to use the window function in the where clause or group by or heaven, it will not work. Let's look at an example where we attempt to use a window function within the where clause. So in this example here, I remove the top file and I add in a window function in the where clause. I attempt to use a window function to return the top file territory with the most cell in 2025. If we run this query, it will not work. It will give it an error. The error is an accurate may not be appear in the where clause unless it is a subquery contained in the heaven clause in the select list, and the column being accurate is an outer reference. That is error number one. The previous example, the example before, well, we saw that we cannot use an accurate function within the where clause. Okay, right here, the window function here have an accurate function. We only can use an accurate function within the where clause if we put in a subquery. And the error number two, window function can only appear in the select or order by. Let's create a query where we use a window function within the order by. First, gonna copy this code. I'm gonna paste it down here. Then we're gonna need to remove the window function within the where clause because it's not gonna work. We're gonna remove the total cell descending, and we're gonna use the window function. We're gonna use the rank function. You can use like row number. I'm gonna do rank over, because we're gonna treat the entire data set at one window. We will not use the partition by in the over. All we need to do is order by. Okay, we have two choice. Choice one is we can use the sum function, the aggregate function, and we sum the subtotal and we put in descending. So choice one, we do this. Okay, this will work. If we run this, it will return all the territory with $1 million or more in sale in 2025, and it will list the territory with the most sale first. We have 7 territory, and the one with the most sale is Southwest USA, and the least sale territory is Germany. In the earlier example, in the beginning of the video, we were using an alias defined in the select list in the order by. If you attempt to use that here, let me show you that real quick. So here we already sum the subtotal and we give an alias total cell. If we try to use that alias within the order by part of the over, it will not work. The error is invalid column name total cell. Because if you look at the query where we explain the logical processing order of the basic column expression and map plus window function, and when the column alias are repaired for the final output, since the window function logically get processed before the column alias are repaired, this query here, this inner order by doesn't know what a total cell mean. Within the inner order by, you can use either an aggregate function and order by that aggregate function, or you can use the actual column in a table or view. You cannot use an alias with established in the select list. However, if you want to use the total cell alias, you can use it in the outer order by. That outer order by will order the data for the entire data set of the whole query. The inner order by here is at the window level. For example, if I delete the window function here and use the total cell alias that would be defined in the select list in the outer order by, then it should be okay. If you want to use a window function within the order by clause, you can either order by the actual column or an aggregate function. In this case, we're okay. So in this case, the inner order by with the part of the window function, we use the aggregate function. The outer order by, we can refer to an alias established in the select list. Even though this window function is part of the order by clause, it still gets processed before the actual outer order by. Let's look at the result real quick. We need to change the outer order by the total cell descending order so it can match the global cell rank column here. Okay. Well, in this case, it doesn't make sense to use the total cell here. Then we order the subtotal descending again in the window function. But I just want to demonstrate the difference between the outer order by versus the inner order by of the window function. Let's jump to another example. This example here, we will attempt to use a window function within a where clause. If we want to do that, there are a couple ways. We can either use subquery or we can use CTE, common table expression. Let's create both. First, I'm gonna copy the code where we use the window function in a where clause and it had an error. So this code right here. Then I'm gonna paste it down here. Give it a comment. So first we need to delete the window function in the where clause. Then we're gonna wrap it in a CTE, a common table expression, and we're gonna give it a name. Just give it a name T right now. So here within the CTE, we already drank the row based on the sum of the subtotal with either cell for 2025 in the descending order. So in the outer query, all we need to do is using a filter in the where clause where T global cell rank is less than or equal to 5. Okay, if we run the query, it's not gonna work because we have an order by clause here. We cannot use the order by within a common table expression unless we specify a top or an offset keyword. If I run this, when you see the error, here is the error. It says the order by clause is invalid in view, inline functions, derived table, subquery, or common table expression unless top, offset, or for XML is also specified. Okay, so this is not gonna work since because we don't have any. We didn't use any top or offset or for XML in the CT. So delete that, run the query again. Okay, now this query shows their workaround when we deal with the error using the window function in a where clause. One way we use the CTE, this is CTE common table expression. Another way we can use is subquery. So subquery, we can put everything in here in the subquery and we do the filter, the same thing. So let's copy this real quick. So here we get to say, we can delete this. Give it an alias. So now the query give us the same result. So this one here, we use subquery. There you go. We put everything into a subquery. We give the subquery an alias name. Then from the outer query, we filter based on the global cell rank. This will give us the top 5 territory with the most cell in 2025. One suggestion, when reading a query, try not to read from top to bottom. So do not read like this. Select top, column list expression, then window function, from table, left join on the join conditions, then do the filter, group by the column, then filter the accurate data. Try to read it in the logical processing order of the query. That will help you understand the query better and also help you troubleshoot or debug the query. In this query, I would read something like this. From cell order header, left join to cell territory on the territory ID column, then filter out any order that's not part of 2025 order, then group the dataset into territory ID and territory name. After that, filter based on the sum of the subtotal where it's greater than or equal to 1,000,000, then specify the select list. After that, order the data by the total cell in descending order, then only grab the top 5 row. Reading the query like that will help you understand the query much better and follow the logical flow. It will also help you debug or troubleshoot the query. In this picture here, I have the distinct operator. The distinct operator will remove the duplicate row, but in the example query, I did not use the distinct operator keyword because in this query, it doesn't make sense to include distinct here in the select list because the group by already collapse the row into territory name already. So there's no need to use the distinct operator in this query. Well, I hope this lesson is useful for you. I hope you learned something new. I believe this is the most important lesson when learning SQL. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumb up and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Bye bye.